How's it going, everyone? My name is True Wonder Dog, and a ton of you have been asking me to cover Shao Kahn for this series. And I do want to start off by saying that even though Shao Kahn is at the lower end of the pool, I don't think he's terrible. He has won several tournaments already, he's certainly one of the weaker characters, but he also has some good things going for him. He's certainly no Kotal Kahn, and he's no Devora either, but I do acknowledge he's very low on the tier list. So without any further ado, let's see for ourselves how terrible is Shao Kahn. So first, let's start off with the short hops. Oh, that's some good range. How about the kick? Kick not so much, but it is pretty darn fast. Decent damage too for all of these, so, you know, pretty darn good short hops. What's the sweep? Oh wow, he steps forward. Ooh, that's a good sweep. Start of the round sweep. Pretty cool stuff. Now the thing is, against Shao Kahn, you're gonna always be crouching anyway, so the range is just for whiff punishing pretty much, because the opponent's gonna always be guarding low. No reason not to against Shao Kahn, but we'll get into that a bit more later on. How about these throws? Okay, you don't want the opponent far away as Shao Kahn, but I do have advancing strings, so I can try and close that gap, but it'd be a bit nicer if those throws left them a bit closer, but then again, outside of Garrus, most throws do not leave you closer. That's a bit more manageable. I can actually do that. That's only a bit further away. Back throw is definitely better if you're mid-screen. If you got him cornered, gotta do the forward throw, but otherwise, that's a lot better for closing that gap. And by the way, Shao Kahn's forward throw is absolutely insane. So if this move actually punishes the opponent's attack as a reversal, it will crushing blow for a ton of damage. And not only that, but you can combo after it with his shoulder charge. And as far as I know, Shao Kahn's the only character who can do that, at least outside of the corner, so it's some pretty strong stuff. And stuff like this is why I don't think Shao Kahn is honestly that bad. I mean, who else can actually combo after their forward throw crushing blow? That's just nuts. Alright, cool stuff. The uppercut, by the way. Shao Kahn has one of the best uppercuts in the game. Not only is it fast, but it hits pretty much everywhere that hammer goes, including a bit behind him and definitely above him. It's easily one of the best uppercuts in the game. And also his crouching 4, really good. It's a really good move. Fantastic range, low profile so it ducks high attacks. Really good for stealing your turn back because he has advancing moves like this. From mid-screen, you can't quite reach the forward 3-4. That mid attack is very fast though, 10 frames, very fast startup for a mid. So in the corner you can do this and just go into this and it's a frame trap. It's really good actually. So if you love Shao Kahn, this string is fantastic when you're close enough. That's about it for his universals, but the jumping attacks, almost forgot. Not the best. Jumping 1, not the best. Jumping 2? Jumping 2, pretty good. Jumping 2, pretty serviceable, pretty good range. His hammer gives him really good range. He's a big guy, he swings his hammer pretty quickly, I love that. I'm glad it's not slow. So I believe that's it for his universals. Cool stuff, let's check out these attack strings. So what do we got first here? We have Warlord. So that's your punish. If the opponent does something unsafe, that's your go-to punish. Can you enhance it in combo? Yeah, easily punishable into a full combo. Good stuff, so that's your go-to punish on unsafe stuff. If you don't got the meter, you can do this. I've heard you never actually want to do this. It does crushing blow if you land his spear 3 times in a row, but realistically you're not gonna get that, so you don't wanna do this. You're better off doing a special cancel or enhancing the special move for a full combo. You don't want to do that ender most of the time. And this move, by the way, it is actually -7, so even though it's a poke and it's meant to punish, if you don't time it right, you give up your turn, so it's not the best move. Merging Realms. Ends with an overhead. That's a bit interesting because Shao Kahn does actually have a low hitting special move in one of his tournament variations. So you could replace it with the low at the end. You want to take that last hit and mix it up. It is an overhead, so you start doing a low attack at the end instead and it becomes a mix-up. That's what you want to do, overhead low mix-up at the end of your strings. Now the first hit is a high attack, so they could just duck right under it and uppercut you. And that's one of Shao Kahn's biggest weaknesses, is you can duck under a lot of his advancing moves, so despite that range, you're going to duck, and the opponent's already ducking, because you only have low mix-ups to start things off. So they're always going to be ducking, and on reaction they can uppercut you if they're skilled, and also they can flawless block a lot of his stuff. Now at tournament level, that's a very big problem, and it's why he's so low tier competitively, but realistically online, I'd say 90% of players aren't even using flawless block. I'm sure they know what it is, but they're just not going to risk the biscuit, or they just don't want to try that much effort just to block and get a follow-up combo, because it does cost meter to punish with the flawless block, so a lot of players online aren't even doing that, so it makes him a bit better online than at tournaments, but at tournaments against top players, they're going to flawless block a lot of your stuff. And next up we have Is That Your Best? So we got a sneaky low in there, and that does combo. Now the problem is, the opponent's going to always be crouch blocking, unless you use this overhead a lot, and online, I'll be honest, it's kind of tough to react to. And if you do it sparingly, it's even tough to react to locally at a tournament. Now up close, I wouldn't recommend doing it. They can jab you out of it, or if you guess wrong and they get hit, you don't get your combo. So you're better off just hit confirming it on reaction and going for that special move, because the cancel window is pretty generous. You have time to see if it hits. So that's good. You have a low mix-up, and if the opponent's always crouching, you could try to do the overhead, but it's just kind of risky. And then you have die by my hands. So the first 2 hits are what's important here. That's for ending combos and doing setups, you know, stuff like that. It's a great combo ender in a lot of variations. It's not for starting combos, but it is good for extending or ending them. So those first 2 hits are pretty good. The third hit, you just want to forget about it. You're pretty much never going to use it. And then bow to me. This is your go-to get in button. Look at the range on that thing. I love it. And you actually can special cancel this. So it works pretty good. Once again, the third hit, I don't recommend using. And they can also duck under that first hit and uppercut you. So you want to be careful. It's a great whiff punish, for sure. But doing it raw in the neutral can be risky because the opponent can just duck under it and then uppercut you. And then we have Fear Me, which is a bit of a different follow-up, and it has the overhead. So once again, in one variation, you have the low hitting special move. So if they block high, you do that low special move and mix it up with this overhead, and you have a 50-50 at the end of your strings. It could be somewhat useful if you train the opponent to stand up and block high. And then we have Last Breath. Once again, one of Shao Kahn's best moves as long as you're within range. This mid is very, very fast. So if you down one and it lands, you do this right away and they're forced to block it. They can't do anything. They can't do jack squat except try and flawless block. And then if the whole thing lands, do the throw, you get a bit more damage. And then in certain variations, you can actually taunt the opponent, and while they're debuffed, you can actually do that final hit for a crushing blow. So that can be a bit useful. Now sadly, you can't special cancel that second hit. I wish they would give him that. If he had that, he'd be much scarier. If his best string that's just great for jailing the opponent, if he could special cancel that, he'd be a much better character overnight. That's one of the biggest things I wish they'd give him. But sadly you can't. The most you get is this, the follow-up, which is very easy to hit confirm. And then in certain variations, if you taunt the opponent and give him a debuff, this will actually crushing blow, that final hit. So that can be good. I'll make sure to show that in the second variation. And then we have Conquer All. This one I'm curious about. So it ends in a mid, and that mid is +6. Starts off high though. And I can just do this, because I'm 6 frames ahead. That's kind of cool. I like that. It's hard to time for me, because I'm not a Shao Kahn player, but +6. It's really good. Yeah, just like that. That's crazy. Okay, and you could also throw, because you're +6. Scary stuff. All right. And that's honestly it for Shao Kahn's attack strings. I don't consider these very bad for the most part. Yes, you can duck a lot of them, but he does have the overhead to keep you a bit more honest and make you stand up every now and then. And in some variations, he has the low mix-up special move to make his overheads at the end a bit more scary. So he does have those 50-50s at the end, and he has the overhead to keep you a bit more humble. I think the main problem here is that his crushing blows, realistically, are not going to happen. So for example, the first one right here, in order for this to actually crushing blow, I have to land 3 merciless spears, and this projectile's not the best. It says it's a mid, but I've walked right under it before. See that? It's a mid, but it's not. It has a like exact hitbox. It's like where it is literally where it hits, so you can walk forward under it. I've done it multiple times with Frost. I've even attacked under it with a move that doesn't duck anything. But if you land 3 of these spears, you can get this crushing blow. The damage is insane if all 3 hits land. Right, so that's kind of cool. Maybe you'll land this if the spears manage to land, but realistically the opponent's not going to trade with you because the windup on this thing is so long, but it's certainly a lot better than his other one. So this one requires you to actually taunt and debuff the opponent. And the animation for that debuff, where you laugh at them, leaves you extremely exposed. Even if you drop a combo to do it, get as much frame advantage as possible, they can still get up and whiff punish you in most situations, so it's just not going to happen. Which means Shao Kahn only has 1 crushing blow you might get, and even then, realistically, it might not happen. So his crushing blows are very lacking. I wish they would change some of the requirements. I think this one, since that's his go-to punish string, should just be for punish. If he punishes the opponent with this string, he gets the crushing blow. I don't see why not. I think over 70% of characters have that in this game, so I honestly do feel like Shao Kahn deserves that as well. And then for this one, I don't know, I feel like having to... And for this one, this crushing blow might be possible if the taunt is a lot faster, which it honestly should be. He has several ways to buff himself and debuff the opponent, but they all take way too long. And real quick, I also wanted to talk about a couple of awesome normal attacks that Shao Kahn has. So first up, we have Kahn Kick or Forward 4. So this is fantastic on block. It's +6, which means the opponent has to block this mid, because this mid is so fast. So if I do this kick and they block, they have to block that mid. There's nothing they can do in between. You can also go for throws here too, because you're at +6 and it's a really tricky setup. So if you land this and the opponent blocks, that's great. Now it is a bit risky because the opponent could jump over it, or back up from it, all that good stuff, or even interrupt it with a projectile or something of that nature. Even a far-reaching normal could beat this move, but it's still fantastic for Shao Kahn. And then we have Dragon Toe. Now this move just has fantastic range, and once again a mid. Now it's very minus on block, so it's a bit risky, but whenever the opponent's pushed further away from some of your moves and they think they're safe, you can do this and catch them because it's so fast, has so much wind up. It's also a decent anti-air if they try to jump. It can be really good for that. I've seen pro player Jackal use this very effectively, and it does lead to full combos if you land it. So it's a bit riskier on block, but the range is phenomenal, and it catches the opponent trying to do things when they're around jumping distance. And that's it for these attack strings, so now let's check out these special moves. So first up, you might notice Shao Kahn doesn't have very many, but that's completely fine. So this projectile, as we mentioned, goes right over the opponent if they're shorter, especially female characters. It can go right over them, and in fact, if they crouch during certain attacks, once again, this hitbox is very literal. It's where the spear actually is, so they can crouch under it during attacks. Not even attacks like this. I'm talking moves where they just go in, that can still duck under it, so it's not good unless you're very, very far away, and even then, it's only good if it lands, because the damage is below average, but you do get to move a little bit. It holds them in place a bit, and if you trade, it holds them there for a bit longer. So against a character like Sub-Zero, if he freezes you but gets stuck by this, then you can unfreeze maybe by the time he gets there, because it holds him in place for a bit longer. So that's one nice thing about it, but as far as projectiles go, it's definitely one of the weakest. And then we have Scum Grab. This is your anti-air, however Shao Kahn does have one of the best uppercuts, so this move honestly isn't the most useful. It does switch sides, so I guess if you want that, you could use it. You can enhance it too. You get a bit more damage, but I'm not sure why you'd want to. So this move honestly just feels like a bit of a waste. You don't really need it. His uppercut's just fine, and as far as combo extension goes, he has much better things. I guess if you want to desperately switch sides, you could do it. But outside of that, it's just not very useful. And speaking of not useful special moves, we have Dark Priest. Look at the animation on this. Do you see how long it took me to block? I was holding down block. Look how long this takes. That's just ridiculous. Now it does buff my damage, which is nice, so that's 80. Before it was 77. And in fact, my throws become absolutely lethal. So look at these throws. 200, that's 20% for my forward or back throw. So if I throw you twice while this buff is active, then I get almost 50% damage on you. And that's pretty darn nuts. Now the buff doesn't last for very long, but that's fine. Look at that, half health. Problem is, it takes way too long to happen. However, if I do manage to get it out, I can actually enhance one of my special moves, and now I get a crushing blow. Bonk. And yes, this does actually start off combos. So once again, if this priest was just a bit faster, Shao Kahn would become mid-tier or upper mid-tier overnight. It would make him that much better. His throws would be so much scarier, his combos that are already pretty good would do even more damage, and that special move now gets a crushing blow. Without it, this special move is just a combo ender. There's not much else to it. That's Annihilation, by the way. There's not very much to it without the crushing blow. It's just a great way to end my combos most of the time. And next up we have Wrath Hammer. So this move initially seems really fantastic because even on block, once I throw it up there, it's guaranteed to come down and you have to deal with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and have Devora block real quick and show you what I mean. So she is going to block everything and it still comes down. Even if I have her hit me, it still comes down. Seems really, really good. And it's only -1 too, so I can down one and try to maybe steal my turn back, right? Really, really good stuff. However, here's the problem. Most characters can uppercut you before the hammer even comes down. So if you use this, they can just uppercut you. And here's the problem, right? If only that second part hits them, because they want that uppercut trade, the damage is about fair. So if I do this, it does 50, and uppercuts do way more. So the opponent can see me do this on block, this move right here, and they can uppercut me. And when they do, I lose. I'm losing the battle. So it seems really good on block, and against beginners or just players who are unfamiliar, it's gonna be really good. But in the tournament setting, or someone who plays Shao Kahn as well, they know, oh, I can just uppercut this. And in fact, now everyone watching this video knows, oh, I can just uppercut that follow-up, and I'll get more damage every time than Shao Kahn. So one more way the developers could buff Shao Kahn is just make that speed a bit faster, or make the first hit have a bit more block stun. That way they can't actually uppercut you. I understand a down one, they want to get a bit of damage, but the damage Shao Kahn gets should be more than the opponent gets for not respecting it. And I don't think they intended for the uppercut to actually beat it, but it does. They get more damage every time, so either it's faster or that first hit has more block stun. That would be a great way to buff Shao Kahn, honestly. And then we have shoulder charge. Not much to say, it's your go-to combo extender. And if you do down instead when you enhance it, he punches down, and it's an overhead. So it's kind of a mix-up. It's not gonna work, but it could be a mix-up. You know, they're always crouching. It could work. And what's great about this, you get a jump follow-up. I love that. I wish more characters had jumps in their combos. Shao Kahn's got that. And Shao Kahn is the combo boy. If you love combos, you're gonna love Shao Kahn. That's what he's about. ShamWow, you like combos, you gotta love this guy. But yeah, that's pretty much it for shoulder charge. It's unsafe, so you don't want to do it on block, and it is a mid, so they're guaranteed to block it and then punish you. But it's your go-to combo extender, so you wait to see if you hit and then go for it. That's what it's for. And then we have Annihilation. I already spoke about this move earlier. It's your go-to way to end combos a lot of the time, especially if the opponent's in the corner. And then, if you have the Priest out, it's great for extending combos, crushing blow, and tons of damage. Problem is, Dark Priest never gonna happen against an opponent who's not sleeping. It just takes way too long. So it's okay, and if you enhance it, you get a bit more damage. And most of the time you don't want to enhance it because it puts space between you and Shao Kahn, and you don't want that. However, if they're in the corner, maybe you could, or if it gets the kill, then by all means spin that cheddar. And then last but not least, we have Hammer Lunge. This overhead. Now it does not track, but it does have several distances. If I hold back, it's a bit closer. By default, it's about here. And then I can hold forward, it's a bit further, and I believe it has a full screen up version as well. It does not, never mind, I'm a liar, but if you hold forward, it's already full screen. And then, even though it is really good on block already, if the opponent wants to down one you and be a bit cheeky, try to steal their turn back, you can delay the enhanced version on block and actually catch them for pressing a button. So not only do you get more damage, but you can actually boom and catch them for trying to interrupt you. So it's pretty darn good. And in the corner, you actually can combo off of this without spending meter, and you actually can combo into it as well. There are ways to combo into it. So that's it for variation 1. I think this is the better of the two variations, but let's check out variation 2. It's honestly not bad. I think it's just not quite as good. So first up, we got Wrath Hammer. So this is a mid-hitting projectile, and it's much better than his spear. However, still not very much damage, only 60, and you can't enhance it. So it's just a really standard projectile. They have to block it or jump over it. They cannot neutral crouch it, so that's pretty good. And the opponent can't duck it by walking at you and attacking like they can with the spear, so that's one more nice thing. They have to actually get hit by this if they're being too foolish. So it's a decent projectile. That is one nice thing about this. Still has wind up, but you know what? It's serviceable. It's okay. And then we have Ground Shatter. Now here's a special move I was talking about earlier. So once again, Shao Kahn does have some overhead ending strings, so now instead, you do this, and it's a low. So you have that mix up, and you can also enhance it, and you get a bit more damage. Now this move can also restand the opponent in the air, but from what I've been told, it actually leaves you at minus. Yeah, so right there. I've heard they can actually punish you for doing that. Now I'm not sure if that's true, it's just what I've been told. I've heard it's fully punishable if you restand with it, so that kind of sucks, because restands are usually pretty darn hype. Now even so, you still have that mix-up factor, right? Shao Kahn has two different strings that end with this overhead, and instead, you do this instead, and you get that mix-up. And if you enhance it, get a bit more damage, which if it kills, I say go for it, otherwise don't do it because the opponent's far away, and you don't want that. So it's still a good mix-up, but it's not really good for restanding, and that sucks. I think for restanding, it should be more plus on hit. That way you get actual setups. That would make Shao Kahn much, much better. And next up, we have the taunts. Now these taunts do one of two things. They either make the opponent do less damage to you, or the opponent takes more damage from your attacks. And this one actually gives me that crushing blow. Boom! All that damage. That's so darn satisfying. Now here's the problem. Look how long it takes me to block. Can you believe that? I swear, I could do that raw from full screen. After hitting you and knocking you on the ground, I could still do that, and you'd have all day to run in and get me. You don't even need a run button. You don't need to run, you can just dash and get me, or wave dash. You can mess me up. So it just takes way too darn long. So you are never going to see that crushing blow. Never, ever. It's just not gonna happen. So very similar to his Dark Priest, these taunts need to be a lot quicker. I don't get why they take so darn long. I swear they're not that long even in MK9. Like, you can punish him for it, but he's a boss character and it's one of his only weaknesses. So in this game, they gotta be faster in NetherRealm if you want us to actually use them. Otherwise, they should just be in his casual variations and not in his tournament variations. Just give him something else. Or make these faster. If you do that, Shao Kahn becomes instantly better overnight. And honestly, that's about it for Shao Kahn, everyone. I think he's a very feasible character. I think with just a few minor changes, he would go from bottom tier to upper mid tier. Make his taunts a bit faster, make his crushing blows a bit easier to do, and maybe adjust the frame data on some of his moves like his hammer toss, make that a bit better on block or have it come down faster, and then for his restand move, make it more plus on hit, so he can actually get some stuff after it when restanding in the corner. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below, it really does help my channel out a ton. And then while you're down there, please let me know your thoughts about Shao Kahn. Do you think he's low tier, or do you think he's better than people think? Please let me know in the comments. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.